What's the deal, everybody? It's your boy Shane. Welcome back to Politics as Usual, right here on the Ethos Media Network. We appreciate all 400 of y'all for subscribing. We just the 400 mark, and I just want to personally thank everybody, you know what I mean, who's been following the content. Make sure you pay attention to all three shows, you know what I mean? This isn't the only show we do. This is just the Saturday politics show, you know what I mean? If you want to, you know, if you're into the news world, you know what I mean, in the current events and stuff like that. But make sure you check out Bar Exam and make sure you check out OTI, Open to Interpretation. Season 2 is on the way. You know what I mean? So be sure to check for that. Bar Exam is on episode 3, I believe, right now. You know what I mean? And it's a great show. You know what I mean? So shout out to all the hosts of those shows. But today, you know what we're here to get into. We're here to talk politics. So let's get into it. So there's been an uproar, you know, obviously in recent times about uh who can and who cannot declassify documents, where these documents are supposed to be, you know, whether or not this activity is illegal, things of that nature, right? And everybody was up in an uproar when all these documents were found in Mar-a-Lago. You know, FBI, you know, if you're not aware, the FBI raided Mar-a-Lago, found a whole bunch of classified documents um, at the Trump residence, basically. So now the same thing has happened to Joe Biden. A whole bunch of classified documents were found at, you know, his private residences and things like that as well. We're going to get into the details of it in this article. This is from NPR, and let's go. So name of the article is Here's What We Know About the Classified Documents Found at Biden's Home and Office. It's written by Becky Sullivan and Elena Moore. This is on NPR, just once again. So, President Biden is facing a Department of Justice investigation after his lawyers found classified documents at his Delaware residence and an office in Washington, D.C. On Thursday, Attorney General Merrick Garland appointed former Justice Department official Robert Hur to lead the Department of Justice probe. This appointment underscores for the public the department's commitment to both independence and accountability in particularly sensitive matters and to make decisions indisputably guided by the facts and by the law, Garland said on Thursday. The announcement comes 3 days after news broke that classified documents had been found at Biden's private office in November, less than a week before the midterm elections, a discovery that led the Department of Justice to launch an initial inquiry. In response Thursday, the White House said it has Department of Justice during its review and plans to continue working with her special account or the state from the you and his lawyers acted promptly upon discovery of this there. Like, that hasn't covered whether or not that action's illegal or not, but let's say it is. Does anybody of whatever your crime was? I'll continue. Jean Pierre said Biden takes classified information, classified documents very seriously, and that his office will cooperate with as it has been doing with the Department of Justice. All right, so let's get a little deeper into the article. Here's what we know about the Biden documents so far. On 3 occasions, classified documents were found at Biden's private residence and a D.C. office he used before becoming president. So this is all vice president stuff. That's one difference in the two situations. And some put you know, at the crib or whatever, and or he was on his way out from being president and took him with him. And Joe Biden was vice president at the time. So that's one difference right there that people will try to make a distinction like that really matters. But on early last November, Biden's personal lawyers were packing files from his one-time office at the Penn Biden Center for Diplomacy and Global Engagement, a think tank founded in 2018 by the University of Pennsylvania, where Biden served as a fellow and a professor before he became president. There, in a locked closet, the White House says, they discovered some files that were marked as classified, even though the office had not been authorized storage of classified documents. The documents were quickly turned over to the National Archive. So, in a private uh, uh, for that activity. Then on November 4th, the National Archives Inspector General informed the Department of Justice of the discovery. In mid November, Garland tapped John Lausch, a Trump appointed U.S. So Rob informed Lausch that another set of documents had been found in the garage of Biden's private home in Wilmington, Delaware. Though White House says it was unintentional and they will cooperate fully, blah, blah, blah. We can move on from that. We don't know what was in the documents or how many were found. The documents are classified, so they have not been publicly described beyond that they were records that dated to Biden's time as vice president during the Obama administration. A special counsel will oversee the investigation. Okay, that's cool. We can move on. That's not very important. Critics have accused Biden of hypocrisy and say he should have publicized the discoveries sooner. Now, what do you think about this part? About the Biden administration's handling of the looting raid Mar-a-Lago. Another faux pas by the Biden administration by treating law differently based upon your political in a press conference said on Thursday. Oops. McCarthy second just 6 days before last fall's midterm elections. Republicans have already, not just real quick, actually. I'm going to talk about that really quick. How come we're really kind of just now finding out about this if all these documents were discovered in November? Like it's February, or I mean, it's January. But let's continue. Republicans have already vowed to use their new House majority to pro Biden's handling of the classified documents to the Attorney General, announcing their inquiry to the handling of the documents and the appointment. I don't know what HUR is, but Representative Jim Jordan, Republican of the Judiciary Committee, and Representative Mike Johnson, Republican of Louisiana, demanded all documents and communications between the Department of Justice, FBI, and White House related to mishandling of classified documents and the appointment of the special counsel. And there's a tweet and the letter and all that good stuff. If that's not important. And over the documents on his social media site, Truth Social. When is the FBI going to raid the many homes of Joe Biden, perhaps even the White House? These documents were definitely not declassified, he wrote one day. We don't, I don't know if that's true or not. Maybe they were, but they're not, because it says that they were all still classified documents. Okay, so here's where you can decide whether or not they're getting a propaganda-y and if they're playing for a team or not, or if they're being honest. You tell me. There are parallels with the Trump classified document. National Archives on the end of an administration. Other rules govern the storage of classified documents between how the two have handled their respective situations. In the case of former President Donald Trump, the National Archives was the first to identify the missing documents and request their return. Trump initially resisted returning them, and his lawyers at times misled federal investigators. After months of back and forth between the government and Trump aides, 15 boxes of documents were returned in January of 2022. According to the FBI, the boxes included 184 classified documents, including 25 marked top secret, as well as others denoted with labels indicating they contain national security information, such as FISA. But more documents still remained at Mar-a-Lago, and ultimately the FBI raided the resort of Sauber described as a small amount of documents. Of the article up here, they found, let's double check. Let me make sure I'm not making that up. I'm pretty sure that's what I read, though. I'm pretty sure we read that together, right? I'm not tripping. Pretty sure. Yeah, unintentional cooperative. We don't know what was in the documents or how many were found. So how do we know it was a small amount of documents? It says right there, right here. I'll highlight this one on purpose. We don't know what was in the documents or how many were found. But then when we go back down here, it says Sauber described as a small amount of documents at first, then returned them to the federal government promptly. The only difference that you can really talk about in that situation is the speed in which they returned the documents to the government. You could say Biden cooperated better than Trump. Okay, but they're still trying to slant your view if you notice that. They said, by contrast, they're including speculation in with a fact. So the fact is that he returned the documents faster than Trump did. The speculation is basically because the Sauber dude is describing a small amount of documents. And then it even says first. There's a qualifier there. So at first, it was small amount of documents. Improperly stored documents in the appointment to the Biden administration, said Leon Panetta, who served as White House chief of staff during the Clinton administration and as Secretary of Defense under President Obama. It's both an embarrassment and damaging to the credibility of the White House because obviously the president has criticized former President Trump and the way he handled classified documents at Mar-a-Lago, Panetta said in an interview with NPR. Okay. Cool. So again, other than the speed in which Biden cooperated with giving those documents back to the government and the speed in which Trump did, I don't see much difference in what happened there. Both of them took documents that they weren't supposed to have beyond their that insight, or beyond what's the word I'm looking for? Not their reign, but you know what I'm trying to say. Like the amount of time that they spend in that role is, you know, whatever the word is for that. I can't think of it right now. But yeah, like Trump was not allowed to have those documents in his possession past his presidency. And he did. So that's where the issue comes in. Biden was not allowed to have those documents past his vice presidency, and he did. That's where the issue is. Again, that's apples to apples. That's the same thing. The only slight difference, like I said, is that Biden apparently has cooperated faster than Trump was willing to. But I argue that's because Joe Biden is still the sitting president. Trump was no longer the president, so he had a little bit more room to resist. Like, and you get what I'm trying to say? Like, it wouldn't necessarily make him look as bad because he was already on his way out. So, whereas Biden is still the president. So, if he doesn't want to get impeached or, you know, go through whatever issues that Trump had, you know, that left a stain on his presidency, then he's going to want to do everything to try to make this as clean as possible and get it out of the, the minds of the public. So of course he's going to cooperate a little bit faster and be like, "Oh, my bad, and let me just go hurry up and admit these mistakes and say, I don't have anything to hide. That's why I gave everything back so fast and all of this, right?" But if that's the case, why did they have to go back 3 separate times? Like, I'm just saying, I feel like if I worked for any organization, let alone the government, but any organization that had like high level secret documents that you were responsible for really in any way, shape, or form, it seems like to me that you would be aware if they were in your own house, unless you have some sort of memory loss issue. Unless I'm not putting that on anybody. I'm just asking, you know what I mean? Like, how could you forget about boxes of important documents? And then again, where I would say the propaganda in that piece lied is in a few places. One, at the very beginning of the article, it says, and I pointed this out already, but I feel like that's important. That's how you find the truth in these articles, is you find those little spots and those little nuggets. So right there at the very beginning of the article, it said, "We don't know how many documents were found." But then in the "we're explaining the differences between the two situations" portion of the article, they conflated two things. They conflated the fact that Biden cooperated faster than Trump did, which we'll just assume that that's true, right? But then you say, and also this guy says that there were way less documents. Okay, well, did you confirm that? Is that a fact? Why would you put that in the same section as that, unless your goal of the article is to make people think that Biden didn't really have any documents, whereas Trump had an outrageous amount of stuff, so he probably has something to hide, whereas Biden doesn't. My argument is that they probably both have stuff to hide, and so that's why they both took the documents. It's just in Biden's interest right now to cooperate, so the way 100% faster. What do you think? And what do you think of, the way the media is covering it, the way that the media is like really downplaying the fact that Biden did the same thing that they slaughtered Trump for? What do y'all think about that? I'm all about keeping the same energy. I don't like Donald Trump and I don't like Joe Biden. So every did bad, I shitted on him for it. If Biden does bad, which is mostly the same stuff that Trump did bad, I'm shitting on him for it too. Just because you have a Democrat in front of your name or Republican in front of your name does not matter to me at this point. Like, Democrat isn't team good anymore. Sorry to burst a lot of people's bubbles, but I see this all the time on the internet. Like when there's a big election and then a state goes blue, and then I'll see friends of mine like, "Oh, good job, certain state. I'm really happy that you all voted for the right people." It's like, yo, let's talk about Michigan for a second. If we're voting blue and all this is happening, still fucked up. Why is California a consistently Democrat state? Why do they have the highest homeless population? And the weather's better, so it's actually just more practical for homeless people to live in a warmer climate. That's true, but guess what? California has the 7th biggest economy in the world. Take California out of the United States. They themselves have the 7th biggest economy in the world. So they are competing with the majority of other countries economically. So you're telling me that they can't afford to house all these homeless people? Again, Democrats are not the solution to the issue. Republicans definitely are not the solution to your issue. If you're a regular person, if you're rich, they probably are the solution. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're rich and selfish, but if you're, at all have any sort of humanitarianism about yourself at all, like you have to realize that both of these parties are playing for the same team. The shit is wrestling, and I love wrestling, so this is a great metaphor. They the donors are the WWE. The Democrats are The Rock. The Republicans are Stone Cold Steve Austin. There's winners and losers in front of the audience's eyes, but backstage, they're all discussing the plays and like, okay, so at this time I'm gonna hit you with this move, and then I'm gonna act knocked out for a little bit, and then at that time the ref's gonna get knocked out, and then the homies are gonna run out and jump you, and then I'm gonna cut myself a little bit to make it look good in front of the audience. Like, dang, he's bleeding. Like, that's wrestling. That's what they do. Like, it's a discussion. They know what they're gonna do before they get in the ring. They get out there. They fight each other in front of the audience. They tell a story. But at the end of the day, there's one entity at the top that's paying both of these people to participate in this. Hopefully that's a good enough metaphor for you to understand what the Democrats and the Republicans actually are in this country. There's one party, and it's the donor party, the uniparty, the Republicrat party, the Democrat party, however you want to say it. They're one thing, man. Like, they're not, again, one side is a little bit better at speaking publicly in favor of minority groups, and the other is not. That's really the only difference I see. You know what I'm saying? Like, outside of that, So anyway, I'm rambling at this point, so I'm gonna get up out of here. This is Shane G. This is Politics as Usual right here on the Ethos Media Network. Make sure you like, you share, you subscribe, leave a comment, and once again, thank you to getting the channel to 400 subscribers. We appreciate y'all, and we'll be here for 500 and beyond. You know what I mean? So thank y'all once again, man. We definitely appreciate it over here. Check out the other shows, and we'll catch y'all next week. Peace.